is what I don't understand. What I don't understand is why white, gender nonconforming, and trans people could conceptualize their own transition as something that has an impact on other people on a systemic level. Like, I don't understand how you transition and then you feel like that in of itself is transgressive to the point that it's disrupting the status quo. Maybe y'all can help me make sense of that.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and we're back. And now we have some more things from the, well, the insane woke people, I would say, because that's all I can really say. Now they're trying to eat their own and, of course, be racist because they have no other way of being racist. So, yeah, there we have it. And now, these people are absolute lunatics, and I'm not quite sure exactly what they're thinking. But this woman here, if we want to really call it that, I mean, she's saying she's non-binary, but she's obviously a woman. This is kind of obvious. Not a very good one, looking one at that, but I digress. Saying that specifically that white people are a problem for this. I'm not quite sure what I'm getting here. You know, it's really hard to, when I have multiple brain cells working and they're just operating with a single brain cell, or maybe none at all, to really wrap my hands on their way of thinking. But, let me put this in perspective. You're not exactly binary because you are what you are. So, I'm not quite sure where you're getting at, and she goes into even more lunacy, trying to point out that, she's technically what you would call, white people are the blame, are the blame for, we're pretty much saying that white people created racism by putting gender roles on. And take a look at this video, it's just absolute lunacy.
That you could be a non-binary. Something about it doesn't make sense to me. How are you going to be a non-binary, but it's people who invented the gender binary, it's people who uphold the gender binary, it's people who spread the gender binary around the world to justify the oppression of black and brown people globally. It's something about that just doesn't make sense. Like, how are people going to opt out of the gender binary? Meanwhile, we're seeing cis black women being pushed out of, you know, sporting events and stuff like that because their testosterone is too high. But we get to have people who the gender binary has done nothing but serve tell us that they want to opt out, and they're not dismantling the gender binary. It don't make sense.
You put your grown-up hat on, and the gender binary has been upheld by people for such a long time. So how can we opt out of something that we are actively participating in upholding? Another creator who I have really appreciated since I pretty much joined TikTok, Mooney Maroon, brings up the pronouns they, them, and how they have not felt gender neutral for a lot of non-communities for a long time. That it's been kind of co-opted and colonized and turned into a third gender of its own. And Mooney brings up a really good point that using they, them for a black woman plays into the masculinization of black women that has been a racially violent problem historically.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand what you're saying here, because I'm still also confused. But I'll tackle the first, you know, the masculinization of black women, because that's going to be kind of an easier thing for me to understand here. So, that being said, now, we're going to say the masculinization of black women. Okay, we can kind of agree on some extent, yeah, the masculinization of black women has been happening. They're kind of the more masculine, obviously, race out of pretty much all of them. But it's not just black women, though. Again, this is another form of racism. Most women, regardless of race, is being masculinized as of today. And it's having a lot of negative side effects towards the actual it has a lot of negative side effects to society. In fact, it's a negative point to society, because when we're having the masculinization of women, men don't find them attractive. Now, sure, we may have, like, you know, a fling or two here and there, what have you, but we won't marry them. We won't date them because they're masculine, and men don't want to date masculine women. This is just normal, and this is just the reality. So, due to this, that we have this like kind of masculinization, it's happening to women across most of the Western world, not so much of, I would say, the Eastern. The Eastern kind of has become more of it's definitely way less SJW, I'll put it that way. So, I'm not quite sure what you're saying about the masculinization of black women, even though, granted, they're the most masculine race. There's always going to be a more masculine of something, or more of something in everything. Maybe a percentage, half percentage. There's always going to be more of something in anything. That's just normal. That's how statistics work. That's how reality works. But in this instance, the masculinization of women, black women, is just happening to women across the board. So this is just what's happening in general. As for your other stuff of like where white people are making it worse to where it's non-binary, listen. Over 10 or so years ago, there was no binary thing to begin with. There was no binary, none of this was existing years ago. They didn't create this. The far left, aka you lunatics, created this. So, there you have it. And it's not oppressing black people because it can't really oppress black people because there is nothing to oppress. Okay, so I don't know where you're going with this. See, it's hard to understand what you guys are thinking because I can't think at an actual dumb level. I think at least a little slightly higher level. I'm not saying I'm super intelligent because I don't think I am, but I think I'm intelligent enough to maybe understand that you guys are maybe a little bit insane. Yeah? So yeah, there's no repression and there's no third level type of thing or third gender or whatever because that's not a thing. That's not really a thing. Also, we have another person that's being including a saying, and she's more saying, I think, than the last one. I don't know. They're kind of equal, but what she says is a little more saying. We'll get this clip through the way as well.
I understand this might not be my place because I am a white non-binary person. If it's not, tell me, and I'll take it down and I'll apologize. But I did want to talk about this because they're right, and I agree with them. I want you guys, especially white people, to go watch that video, and I'll tag another creator who made a video on this topic that I really agreed with, and I want you to actually listen to what they're saying, because if your first reaction when you heard that was to get angry, you're in the wrong. You're wrong. Gender and whiteness are synonymous. Gender was used to oppress people of color. I'm not saying that as a white person, you have to agree with your gender assigned at birth. But what I am saying is that as a white person, you can't speak for the non-binary community as a whole. As a white person, you can't speak for the queer community as a whole. People, like queer people of color, whether non-binary or not, actually just people in color in general, have had a more difficult experience with gender than you as a white person could have ever had.
And white privilege are inherited in gender identity. 10 times out of 10, I will not experience racism on top of being transgender. I know my skin gives me a layer of protection and allowance from other white people to present myself outside of the white normality. I know that queerness for a lot of bigots presents in their mind as the black trans women who fought for decades to earn my rights to exist now. I know that the government in place in this country wants to eradicate queer rights, not because they fear their straight and religious lifestyles are being threatened, but because there are more white queer people today, which means there'll be less white babies. For a lot of white queer people, their first reach out of that oppressive normality is towards BIPOC culture. Is it wrong in cultural appropriation? Absolutely.
Okay, so let me answer your first question. If you're talking about the government wanting to get rid of white people, not necessarily. I would say they do want to get rid of black people, though, considering Planned Parenthood is in the majority of minority communities and is affecting black people by the thousands. But I digress. The government is not going after any of the gay communities at all for this fact because it's just not a thing. If anything, they're more prone to protect the gay communities than actually wanting to label them, attacking them at all. So you're wrong there. Another thing as well is that don't see where you're kind of like going with this in particular here. Because when you talk about like this type of issue, I'm not quite sure where you're going with it. Because white people are not privileged. They're not privileged compared to black people, and black people have the same rights as white people. Now, if we want to say women, on the other hand, not discriminating by race, yes, women are very, very, very privileged. You, white lady, are quite privileged. Yeah. And I really like to see you guys combat against me, because I could easily just flip it around and say like, oh, well, you're just attacking a black person. You're racist. You can't do that. See, this is the thing. You people think that, you know, you could go against people, but we could just flip around your logic and just use it against you. What are you going to do to a black person? You can't tell you anything about me. I can just say that you're racist and everybody will align with me. And if they don't, it shows that they're racist against themselves. So there's not really much you can really do because you're insane. And you're all insane. But the government is not going after gay people, and it's not going to be because there'll be less white babies, alright? That's not the possibility. First off, that's not going to happen because black people or black women are aborting children by the thousands, hundreds of thousands, by the way. And so that's not going to happen. And the black community has stuck around 13.7% of the actual U.S. for quite a while now because personally due to all the abortions. So that's the first off. So that's not going to happen. So I don't quite see where you're going with this. And by the way, people like you, people that are reliant on that side, the reason why we any less white babies, you would claim, is because, well, none of you really have children in the first place. Because you're obviously for abortion, so you'll abort your kids whenever you get the chance. You'll make them become sterilized by giving them pills, so therefore hormone pills, which will actually sterilize your kids, will make them not be able to have children. So by all means, you're killing your own ideology, and you're also killing yourselves. Because, you know, can't do what you're doing to yourself. So, on to the last video, that is to, you know, well, insanity.
Hey, I don't really get how you could be white and non-binary. Like, it doesn't really gel, doesn't really make sense to me, and people were mad at me because I said that. Okay, so look at this comment. Click on it, okay? I want y'all to click on it, and I want y'all to look at what video it was posted under, and I want y'all to look at who posted this comment, and then tell me again that I'm wrong as a black non-binary person for having mistrust from queers. Because even when we're super loud about our identities, you guys still see our existence as nothing more than just allyship to you. And how telling is that? How telling is that? But I'm gonna try to make it clear. This is the thing, right? So a lot of times when are marginalized, they think that the folks of color who are also marginalized by the same powers that be are experiencing the same marginalization as these people, and then something extra on top, aka the racism. I need y'all to understand that racism mixed with any marginalization creates a completely different, separate oppression that y'all don't experience at all.
Okay, more about this type of racist BS. Okay, yes, white people do experience racism. And by the way, it's by you black people, I like to mention. So let me put it in this perspective. So when 3 black teenagers attack a white woman because she's white, is that not considered racism? I think it is. So, I don't know what you're really saying here. Everybody can be racist. There is no reverse racism, there's just racism, alright? So I don't know where you're going with this. I think you people need to take a step back, stop being insane, and just, you know, think clearly. Because obviously, you're not. I don't agree with your people because I think that you're trying to push an ideology or something that is inherently racist. First off, this whole thing is racist, by the way. It's all you guys being legitimately racist. So saying that the white people are not being discriminated against, oh, they're never be discriminated against by you, by the way. So that's the first thing. And 2, you people need to get out. You guys need to all go to Russia. You guys need to go to Iraq, Afghanistan, North Korea, China. Have fun, black lady in China. I'm pretty sure you'll be treated real well there. So, yeah, I don't think you really have been put into an outworld perspective. I always say to to one of my family members. She says, "Oh, I haven't experienced the world." Well, apparently neither have you. Why don't you go to Russia and experience the world there? Why don't you go to China and experience the world there? And why don't you go to any of these other third world countries and experience the world there? Because I guarantee you haven't. Go to Russia and see their penal prison colonies. Go to North Korea and see on how bad their own people live. And then go to China and see how racist they are towards black people and how oppressed their own people are. Because I don't think you have seen that. Because you are privileged. Okay? You are privileged and you have the luxury to be privileged. These other people do not. The same thing with the black people here. The black people in America today are more privileged than a good chunk of black people in Africa. In fact, the black people of Africa don't even consider these black people that are here in America black. And by the way, white people in Africa are also discriminated against, just to let you know. I know it's surprising that you think that, but it's really the truth there in Africa. So, I digress. You people don't know what you're talking about. You haven't experienced anything really at all, and I know I have not been to either of those countries. But I have known and seen the atrocities and the evilry that they have done in present day. Present day. Not in the past. Present day. You all need to wake up. You're all freaking delusional. And you need to go. You all need to get shipped to those countries. I say ship every last leftist to those countries. See what happens. Because I'm pretty sure you'll be waking up real quick. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. Let's do the next one. Take care.